people who recognize that values and ideals, however carefully wrought, are subject to change as our knowledge and understanding advance. All right, on to today's program. Our speaker today is Lea Pinsky. Lea is the executive director of Art Encounter, a nonprofit art organization in Evanston, Illinois. An Evanstonian by birth, Lea has spent her 20-plus year career in public art and art education program management in Chicago. Oops, lost my area, excuse me, and has held leadership positions in arts organizations such as Lifeline Theater, Urban Gateways, Chicago Humanities Festival, and Columbia College Chicago. With her artist husband, Dustin Harris, she has painted 25 murals in schools, public spaces, commercial venues, and private residences. Together, they managed the Mile of Murals in Rogers Park from 2010 to 2017, which actually produced new murals which annually produce new murals on the CTA Red Line from Estes to Pratt in Rogers Park, enlivening and brightening the community. In 2017, they brought their vision to Evanston, launching the Evanston Mural Arts Program under Art Encounter. To date, the program has produced 25 murals with 20 professional artists and over 400 youth. The topic of Lea's presentation is the Art Encounter, Many Ways to See. Our programs address a wide variety of topics, including current events, philosophy, arts, and sciences, to name just a few, and today's presentation is part of our ongoing programming related to the arts. The format of today's program is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. There will be an interactive part, so I invite everyone here to participate actively, as well as YouTube viewers. Please, when our presenter asks for your input, please provide it via chat, and I will share it with Lea. And then after the program, we will have our traditional Q&A. And again, those of you in the audience, both the physical audience and the virtual audience, will be able to ask questions. I guess we are ready to welcome Lea, please.
Thank you very much. Should I just use the lavalier, or will it be any kind of feedback? Okay. Well, thank you so much for having me. I am new to learning about the Ethical Humanist Society, and it seems just like a beautiful, beautiful organization. So I'm pleased to be here today, and I hope to return as a guest at other lectures in the future. Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Svetlana. I had the pleasure of meeting Svetlana a few months ago, I think, on one of my mural tours. Was that in Rogers Park? Yes, great. And you were so engaged and so excited about the work that when you reached out to me to come here, I didn't hesitate for a moment. So today I'm kind of gonna split this morning hour into two parts. One is I want to have a discussion about the artwork that I've brought here today to sort of demonstrate what Art Encounter does. And we can learn about ourselves and hopefully a little bit about each other as we talk about art. And then the second half is going to be just taking you through the story again of what all Art Encounter does as an organization, because we do have many different programs. And you will see after this kind of discussion how it engages when we're working with different communities. So without any further delay, I'm going to change microphones, come down here, and I've brought these three paintings today. This is not atypical. And I will talk about this in a little bit, but Art Encounter essentially takes people to art and brings art to people. And I'll tell you a little bit more about how we do this when we take art to people in artist studios, in galleries, museums, collectors' homes. But when we don't have the opportunity to take people to art, we'd like to bring people in. We'd like to bring art into people's spaces. This is especially powerful when we're going into schools. We bring artwork into schools. Many children have never seen actual work of art in the schools we're going to. So I've brought these paintings today, and I'm going to ask questions to you about some of the things you may see, some of the ways you may interpret, some of the ways you may feel. And I want to encourage everyone to not be shy, because there's no right or wrong when you're looking at art. Everyone has their individual perceptions. We thrive on embracing those different points of view and having a lively conversation. So the first one I want to look at is, we'll talk about the one in the middle. You've had a few moments to let your eyes adjust to these paintings. And I want to ask, how many of you feel that this space is active or quiet? Think of it just on kind of like a holistic level. Raise your hand if you find this to be a very active space. Most of you. Does anyone feel that it's calm and quiet? A couple people. All right. Let's start with the people who feel that it's active. What makes it active to you? Raise your hand or just, shout out. What are the things here that make it feel active? Yeah.
Broad strokes and splashes.
Okay, great. So you can see the artist's approach to how they put paint on, and it feels very fast. It feels like an action painting. Great. What else makes it feel active? Yeah.
All the contrast and values, so they're real bright areas and they're real dark value areas.
Okay, right. So there's a lot of strong contrast, which keeps it very active. Anything else?
The
Yeah.
lines are not smooth, to the extent that there are visible lines, they're somewhat jagged.
Mm-hmm. Right. So again, yes, seeing that brush stroke, seeing texture in the brush stroke, seeing a lot of, does it seem like a lot of care and precision has taken place, or has it been rather fast and spontaneous? Mm-hmm.
It's fast and spontaneous, but there is a certain quality of organization.
Okay. Well,
It's a composition.
great. We'll get back to that. We have people who love talking about art here. This is good. How about the few of you that said, you know what, actually this space feels calm. So what makes it feel calm to you? I know there were people on this side. Someone over here. Yeah.
The background reminds me of salt or ice or crystal, and the objects in the foreground, whatever they are inanimate. So it seems peaceful to me.
I see. So you're seeing a temperature. You're seeing almost a climate or a temperature here, cold. And cold can feel still and quiet, right? There's not a lot of warm, hot colors here. There's not reds and oranges and yellows, which might make us feel more active. The color palette is quieter. What else makes it feel quiet? Anything else? Yes?
Well, it seems to go from quiet to active from the right to the left.
Okay.
So the right seems very uniform, and then over on the left side we see the black squiggly line.
I see. So there's a transition here
Yeah.
as it starts here. There's less change, right? And then there's more. There's not just the big black squigglies, and maybe you can't see it from far away, but there's a lot of drawn line work here and here and here underneath it. I'd love to hear more about this sense of organization, because I was going to ask, does it feel chaotic or does it feel organized? And Mr. Sir, you said it felt organized, and I'd love to hear, what does it feel organized to you?
Well, I see that there's a certain amount of balance in the coloration.
Mm-hmm.
There's a great deal of gray and blue in this on this right side, but it's picked up by that sharp white form on the left side, and then some of the lighter colorations in the upper corner. And that suggests to me that the artist was conscious of balancing the painting and drawing the eye around.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So I love how you're seeing the shape. You're seeing this painting by shapes
Yes.
right now. So you're seeing this central circle here. That's interesting, right? If the orange wasn't,
I'm
yeah.
seeing the shades of gray
You're seeing that.
and the shades of gray with a little bit of pink in the upper corner.
Uh-huh.
And the repetition then of you've got the ochre circle, but it's sort of picked up by the brown on the far edge.
That's right. That's right. So there are lots of different kind of circular organic shapes here. If this circle wasn't here, you still might get the sense, if you blurred your eyes, that there's this, amorphous circular shape, but the artist has accentuated
But
it.
there's also the black up here and the black line down there and that little black squiggle at the top. It's drawing the eye around.
That's right. Very good. Yes, it's drawing the eye around. So he's indicating like the black is balanced in different parts of the composition. That's great. Anyone else want to talk about, maybe you have a different opinion, that it doesn't feel organized to you, it feels quite chaotic, and that's fine. Anyone feel chaos? Yeah.
Oh, I don't feel chaos. I feel like it is real balanced. I feel like that black squiggly shape over there takes about as much visual area, along with maybe the brown, as the orange one with the white in the background, and they feel balanced to me. So it doesn't feel, there's a lot of action in the physicality of the painting itself, but the composition feels fairly balanced. It doesn't feel like it's, overemphasizing anything. It's maybe kind of softly diagonal, so it feels fairly balanced to me.
You're getting a sense of like an intuitive feeling of wanting to create composition and balance, though through a pretty active, probably painting process.
Right.
Great. Let's see. I'm going to move on to this painting, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to tell you a little bit about each of these artists and a little bit about the background. But there's some sort of similarities, I think. You might find a few similarities between these two paintings that we've looked at it in terms of application of paint. But before we talk about that, I just want to ask, what can you tell me about this woman? Any sense of character come forward? Maybe some people who haven't spoken yet. Love to hear from more people too. Anyone? Yeah.
That seems like a pretty compassionate gaze.
You get a sense of compassion?
Yep.
What is it that makes you see that in the
Like
painting?
the lowered eyes and
The lowered eyes is big, right?
yeah.
Right? It's not like big eyes bulging out of the head. The eyes, and great. What else? You can either build on the sense of compassion and what the artist has done. You can give me another quality. Yeah.
I kind of see focus, like the subject maybe like with their hands working on something or reading something.
Interesting. So engaged in some kind of focused activity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Detached and sort of distracted by it, or
I see my perspective is more focused on what.
interesting. Great. What else? Yeah.
Her eyes look sad to me.
You had a sense of sadness. Where is she looking? Down. Not directly at the viewer. Kind of away. Yeah, that can have a strong sense of sort of melancholy, also compassion. You and then you. Yes.
Yeah, curious about the white objects at the bottom of the painting. I'm not sure what those are.
Great. Yes. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about the different figures besides what we talked about in the face itself. Who wants to talk about what they think those are? Yes.
I just also want to talk about the background. There's a like greenish, darkish background.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look like she's in a spot which is very well lit. It's more cloistered. That's how it looks like.
It feels like it's, what was the last word you said?
Cloistered, like in an enclosed area.
Cloistered. Yes, enclosed. Yes, right. The darkness, right. So the color palette itself also will add to either that sense of quietness, calm, compassion, sadness. If you see, does anyone see? I'll go into that. So we can talk about the objects at the bottom. I also want to just talk about the neck, what the elongated neck does to it. Does it like, how does that change the sense or give a sense of status, high or low, to the long neck?
she looks fragile, actually, like that neck. Makes me look
Interesting.
like fragility. But when you say status, you mean social status? Sorry. Oh, I would
Possibly.
say high. You know, there's an elegance and I don't know.
An elegance and yet fragility, yes?
Formality.
A formality, right? Formal. Does she seem approachable?
Maybe a little.
Maybe a little bit, right. Okay, how about these, the sort of the white rounded areas at the bottom? Yes?
I think that's a book.
You think it's a book?
Mhm.
Looking
She's
down
reading a
into-
book.
Reading a book.
Interesting. I've never seen that before. Any other thoughts? There's really no answer here. There's no right
One
answer.
of the- Sorry, one of those things looks like a hedgehog.
Looks like what?
Oh, you're right.
A hedgehog.
I see it, yes.
Oh, I don't see that. Svetlana?
Well, I immediately thought breasts, but of course they're too high to be breasts. But I mean, that's what I thought.
Svetlana thought they looked like the woman's breasts. Well, I mean, the coloring, you know, the artist has decided a skin tone that's on the very light white side. So it could indicate her breasts as well. Does it feel like there's a sense of time in this painting? Meaning, does she feel contemporary? Does she feel of a historic period? Or is there a timelessness to this character?
It feels historic, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just saying it feels historic to me. And it, from the perspective of her having a sense of compassion, I would say she sort of, to me, it looked like she was petting a cat or stroking a cat.
Stroking a cat. Interesting. Okay. Yes.
The historic, I think it's the greys in it. When I saw it, I didn't really look at it particularly.
Uh-huh.
And when you said it's a woman, is it? And I had seen, I had seen a man with a wig, you know, a historical figure.
Uh-huh.
When I
The
glanced
hair.
at it. Yeah.
The hair feels from another time, but also, so it could be a man's wig.
Yeah.
Or did anybody else see a man? I mean, it's okay, right? Because it's a, you know, it's
But
a
now
fairly
I
pronounced
I
nose.
quite clearly see a woman now you've said, but I hadn't really looked at it until you know,
Yeah.
said that. I just sort of glanced at it.
Mhm. And and how about this? The background is someone has talked about the color, right? We've got this green tone that slowly changes to a black, which slowly changes to a gray, and it's a little hard to decipher potentially where the background ends and she begins. Does that add anything to the quality of her character by that? Yeah.
I think it makes it more mysterious. Also, there's a lot more color in there than the brown. The coloration is very, very subtle.
Mm-hmm.
And it just gives her kind of a sense of mystery. It looks to me like the painter might have done that in the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
That's my reaction to the image.
Great. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyone have a different thought about that? They want to, sounds like it.
I would say, I thought similarly, it looks like early 1900s, I mean, like teens or 20s. And I think that the black on the side could be a floral arrangement and like right over her right shoulder. There's a harder shadow, so
Mm-hmm.
behind her neck, so that sort of makes me think that there's something closer to her, as opposed to being a landscape
Mm-hmm.
behind her. So I feel like it's a domestic environment.
You imagine, even though we know this is completely, you know, sort of, but you imagine a domestic interior. We just talked about this painting. Very different paintings, but where do they find sort of synchronicity? What sort of things are they make them similar? You know, these aren't like hard questions. I'm curious what you see in terms of these two artworks, and I'm curious in terms of also. We talked about kind of a speed of the painting here. You know, do you sense the same You know, we see that this has got a lot of active strokes as well. Does it have that kind of, do you imagine that spontaneity? I guess that's what I want to ask. In the painting? Or was it more?
I think that both of the artists were actually doing a lot of mixing on the canvas.
Uh-huh. Do you paint?
Did.
Yeah, because that's pretty, I mean, to have that kind of nuanced impression. So you're suggesting that instead of taking the time to, let's get the black, let's get the white, let's make the perfect gray, and let's put it on the canvas, you're like, throw a little black, throw a little gray, let's see what happens. So that sense of spontaneity and discovery while you're painting. Well, that makes things fun. Yeah. But again, right, there's that like push and pull between the active and the quiet, you know, the busyness, that contrast keeps it very alive. All right, I'm gonna go over here to this painting. Sometimes I'll bring, you know, more, but I wanted, for the sake of today, just to bring 3. We have another figure here, right? Who's that? Everyone know who that is? Okay, Wonder Woman, great. Anything unusual about or unexpected about seeing a Wonder Woman in this kind of composition that you wouldn't normally see? Yeah.
I think that Wonder Woman, people think of her as strong, pioneer, but this is very traditional, feminine, floral, like the fleur de lis, which is very traditional, like you find on a wallpaper. Flowers, making just iconic, feminine
Okay.
kind of things, and then it's even stamped on her forehead.
Right.
Flower that she's looking through. So it makes me think of, it's raising questions about a woman's place and what role she has in.
All right, you've said a lot. So let me kind of backtrack a little bit. The first thing you mentioned were there was the subject matter that makes up her background. You know, we talked about the abstract or the subject, you know, potential subject matter that makes up this background behind this woman in her setting. And then the first thing that comes out to you that feels unusual is the images that are around, and you describe them as the flowers that you know, again, very feminine. We don't see Wonder Woman surrounded by flowers, especially ones that seem decorative and more like domestic, like wallpaper or things that you'd see. So that's something that is unusual. There, you mentioned that one of the flowers, even she's peeking through. So what else about her then seems, or can you glean about this Wonder Woman, or that feels unusual besides the environment? Yeah.
That seems like it's taken from a comic book itself. It's not what we would think of like an art piece like that, when somebody drew a comic book Wonder Woman and then added all of these other elements on the side.
Right. Okay. So appropriation, right, which is very popular in pop art, right? A lot of appropriation of other images. So there's one part of it that feels like directly pulled from another artist, and then this artist then created a new kind of environment around that. So that feels different to you in terms of this painting. Anything else about her? Yeah.
In the past, when like I've seen a comic book character in like a traditional comic, they typically have like a quote bubble saying something.
Right.
So this is kind of interesting to me in that it's kind of the same drawing of a comic book character, but they're not actually saying something. Their gaze and their view is kind of just making a statement.
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. I haven't heard or talked about that before. But yes, there's no. She's not speaking and she's not thinking. We can't get really into her. There's a silence. There's a real interior kind of sense. What about her gaze and what about her position? Yeah.
Well, she's in the background, which is interesting. and the flowers are, shielding her, imprisoning her.
Mm-hmm.
And her mouth is open, but it's not a smile. It's not clear that if she's about to speak.
I think that's really interesting about the mouth being open, right? Because when we're talking about strength and vulnerability sometimes in characters, like if you think when you take a picture of yourself and your mouth is closed, that there is a kind of a impenetrable, less penetrable kind of expression that we can give off. But if the mouth is open, a smile, of course, is open and like a warm, but it's more vulnerable. But there is a delicate, more of a delicate vulnerability. You also said she's like imprisoned by the flowers, which I thought was interesting. What are you seeing that? How are you seeing that?
The way they're shielding her in some way.
Mm-hmm. But it feels like a trap.
That she's behind them.
Yes, right. Hiding at the very least, right? We'll have you, and then you, and then maybe Svetlana. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
To me, it's kind of part of a general theme of dreaminess, that everybody is very introspective. The middle picture, to me, just struck me as soon as you first wake up,
Uh-huh.
you can't focus on anything quite yet, but you can make out shapes.
Nice.
So this feels like the overall theme to me.
Interesting. A sense of interior introspection. All right. Did you want to return to the?
Yeah, so the flesh tone on Wonder Woman is the background, and then her hair is real detailed, a lot like the floral pattern is on the leaves of the flowers. And that could be, I like that someone mentioned something about it being almost like a wallpaper pattern. I think that's kind of interesting. If the upper part was more like a wallpaper pattern, and then the more detailed dimensional leaves that are in front of her hair, which is in front of the background blend, which makes up her skin, it's just kind of manipulating space a lot with in a small range from
Right.
a very close range of background, foreground, and two-dimensionality and three-dimensionality. So her hair has a lot of activity, just like the leaves do on the left.
Got it. I'm really glad you mentioned that because, yeah, that's something that doesn't come out right immediately, but, this kind of, kind of spongy, like faux finishy kind of thing that's in the background. As you move into it, you see that that's actually the same tone as, so it's a transparent face in many regards, see-through, just like you can see through the flowers here and you can see through the flowers here. So again, like putting those on the same level that you talked about, or originally the femininity and the sense of being tied to our femininity. Great. This has been so wonderful to talk about. I'm just going to give you a little bit of information about each of these paintings, and then I'm going to kind of round this out by telling you more about Art Encounter and how we apply this in our programs. So first of all, I live with all of these paintings. We do have a collection of paintings at Art Encounter that we bring by professional artists in the Chicago area. We bring them into schools and senior homes and places where they don't really have access to art. But I didn't want to schlep them from there, and I thought I'd love to bring these paintings that I live with at home. These are all also very close to my family. This was painted by my husband. As it was mentioned earlier, he's an artist. We paint murals together. But this is kind of interesting because this is originally a segment of a much larger painting that he created that was, I think, 12 feet by 5 feet. And it was called a series of splats, and it was very active. He put canvas on a wall and just did a lot of, did a lot of active work to create these. And then he decided to put them into smaller compositions. So this was a very fun project to decide where the composition was after the painting was made. This I don't think it was mentioned at the beginning. My mother, I'll tell you more about her. Lea Pinsky is not only the founder of Art Encounter, but she's a lifelong painter. Her mother was also a painter. So my grandmother painted this of her mother, whose name was Rebecca, my middle name. And I'm very interesting to hear you talk about the time period, because I think she probably painted this in the 50s, but she may have been working from a photo that was at least 20 to 30 years old. So my great-grandma Beck was potentially, that was a photo from the 20s. I don't know if this is her bosom or if this is a book. We'll never know. And this is a painting that I painted. I don't really have a studio practice right now, but in like 2008 to 2013, I was making a lot of paintings with Wonder Woman, but taking her out of her normal context and putting her into different sort of locations or interior environments where you might begin to imagine what her internal life is like. Just sort of, the every woman coming at a time when like my friends are all trying to have careers, be mothers, do it all, and but the other side of like what faces forward is like, pure strength. So this is my family of painters. Did you have any questions about any of those descriptions before I move on to just this sort of last part of today? Okay. Well, I always love when I bring art places, I always learn something more. This is my first time really bringing these three, so I'll never see them again the same way. I really learned a lot by listening to you, and I thank you all for being so kind of jumping in. So let me unsleep my computer here. And what time is it now? Okay, we have like 10, 15 minutes-ish? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, great. Technical, would you like me to take off the lavalier now and it won't cause any kind of problems here? All right, so I did want to put this in the context of what we do at Art Encounter. Our core belief at Art Encounter, we believe there are many ways to see, and that art can be a powerful vehicle to understand ourselves and the world around us. And hopefully this morning, by looking at these paintings, whether you actively answered, is that showing up there?
Nope.
Was it showing before?
No.
Oh.
Aha.
Okay, those are the words that I just said. Okay, yeah. So that's our kind of core belief. The organization was founded in 1978 by 3 artists, one of whom is my mother and 2 of her very good friends. And part of what made them create the organization is to make more access to art, but also sort of to dispel some of the intimidation that people have when they walk into an art venue and they don't know, like, oh, do I need to know something? Do I need to understand something? What does it say on the wall? Someone help me out. And it's like, no, we can do this ourselves. We have our own perceptions, we can discover. So, but taking through a series of guided questions. So our mission is to educate, empower, and connect people of all ages and backgrounds through interactive encounters with art. We have 3 areas of programming. We have our public and member programs for active adults. That's where we take people to art. And we have our community outreach programs, which serve students, seniors, and more, bringing art to people. And our mural program, which is in Evanston, and that is to really bring art right out into the streets, outside of buildings altogether. So as I mentioned before, our public programs bring our members. We have a membership and the general public into artist studios, private collections, exhibitions spaces that lead the conversations that connect them with the art and with each other and to understanding how we see. So if we went into an artist studio here, we would not only take time at the very beginning, it's very important, before we hear from the artist, we definitely want to have our own perceptions, not just so that so they're not the artist isn't lecturing it to us, but the artist gets so much out of it too. When we go into an artist studio, because those kinds of conversations often just don't happen at gallery openings and such. So the artists always get a lot out of it. There's a sense of service to the artists themselves. Here's a photo of us in an artist studio. Our whole tagline is "There's many ways to see," which I talked about at the beginning of this conversation today. So we hope our discussions both expand perspectives and demystify the creative process and make art more accessible. We have some evening programs. Here's some, well, we actually don't really do the wine anymore yet. We're getting back to that, but we had to, you know, with COVID, we would have like evening programs where we'd have some wine and refreshments. But it does, the work builds community among the participants as we emphasize everyone's perspective. Here we go. We have some visits to, this is us at the Astor Gates program. That's Joanna in the front on both sides. She leads most of our public programs. This is us at Madron Gallery here. Some more artist studios, and we do that throughout the year. And our membership program, we have a membership program which enables people to get discounts on programs, to have members-only access, special benefits, and that helps support a lot of our programs that we give that are at no cost to participants. I'm gonna skip through that. So our community outreach programs are really the heart of our organization's mission. We serve over 1,000 public school students and numerous other groups throughout the year. We bring art into schools. We bring art into senior centers. We do intergenerational programs, and we work with currently a couple of partnerships with adults with disabilities. Like I said, we have we serve over 1,000 youth. We do hands-on projects. So what happens with those classes is we start, here's a photo of us discussing a painting. This is a painting by Lea Pinsky, actually. We come in, we bring the painting, we ask the questions, we get them to see certain things. There are different concepts or different conversations, different art concepts we're doing each week. And following the art encounter, which takes place over 10 or 15 minutes, the students then engage in a hands-on project that is focused on one of the points of the painting. So, for example, this painting has a lot of texture in it, so then the kids do a texture-based project. We'll do something that's around pattern, and the kids do a pattern project. But the projects are very much about exploring their creativity. It's not like, do this, you know, there's not a prototype to follow. We just want them to expand their vocabulary and explore. So then they share within each other, with each other. They write about their work, they reflect, and they always go to a museum as part of our residencies in the Chicago Public Schools. We go to the Mexican Museum of Art, the DuSable, MCA, the Art Institute, and it's so great. After they've had several sessions of being at the school where they're talking about art, when you get them to the museum, you barely even have to ask a question. You sit them down in front of a painting and they're just dying to share their thoughts. And it's very buoyant and lively, and everyone's really excited, like, wow, how are those kids talking about art? You know, they think it's magic. And then finally, our mural program is the newest part of Art Encounter. And Svetlana had mentioned, I myself was a muralist. I'm not totally done, but I might be done actually painting murals. My husband and I started painting murals in 2005 and did that until about 2018. During that time, prior to coming to Art Encounter, we ran a program in Rogers Park. And it had such an impact on the community to have so much art on the streets, thematic, about the neighborhood, connected to the community members. So being Evanston natives, both of us are Evanston natives. When we moved back to Evanston, when I joined the staff at Art Encounter, originally as the community outreach manager, then later as the executive director, we just looked around and saw so many blank walls, so much opportunity for public art. And this program has been beautiful. This is one of our latest pieces with artist Max Sansing. We've had the opportunity to bring some of the most incredible artists from Chicago to Evanston. What makes our program unique, I say, is that it's responsive to the community. So instead of going out and looking for walls to paint, we look for partners to serve. We have partnered with over 40 community partners since we began our program 5 years ago. This is a photo of a project. You can't actually see the mural too well, but it was with the Evanston North Shore Bird Club, who wanted to do a project that gave some public recognition to birds who had been endangered or, named as a list of concerned habitat wise because of climate change. So we have this beautiful piece, and Svetlana, you saw the sister piece to this in Rogers Park. We've got like the mayor, someone from the Central Street Business Association, the alderman, the woman from the bird club. So those kinds of projects. We worked with Family Focus, which provides free after-school programming to children. Did a mural with them. We've done 25 murals all over. We also partner with business districts. We partner with developments. We partner with schools. We've got a couple school projects going on. And so it's a beautiful program in that it's, we just wait for the phone to ring, and every project has such mutual benefit for everyone it serves, not just us. So you can go on a self-guided tour. Every once in a while, I lead guided tours, and we've had just really some of these artists are the best of the best. Ruben Aguirre, I'm going to just go across. Ruben Aguirre. This is Dustin Harris. Molly Z. She's wearing the walls for murals. Ramon Static, beautiful mural at a school called Oakton School. This gentleman in front of the warm-colored geometric lines, his name is Dalek, or James Marshall. He comes from North Carolina. Anthony Llewellyn. Those are just a handful of the muralists that we've been able to bring to Evanston. So proud of being able to showcase their work in Evanston. And of course, as I mentioned, working with youth is a big part of what we do. So to our left is an image of a student working with artist Molly Z. Very interesting process, where she does a pattern-based work, and she draws the outsides. She created the larger kind of structure of the piece. That's right here. It says walls are for murals. And then inside, all of that small patterning, I don't know how well you can see it here, the students created. So had a lot of ownership there. We worked with the Girl Scouts. They had a 100-year anniversary. So we had 30 troops of Girl Scouts come paint a mural celebrating their anniversary. And then this is the Family Focus mural, which was about their community on the right. Our mural partners, everyone's happy. So yes, all in all, our Art Encounter programs really strive to make art available and accessible to all individuals and groups across the Chicago area. This is a group we work with, Center for Independent Futures, serving adults with disabilities, a mural program, visiting Theaster Gates, murals at the MCA last year, community program. We bring joy, vitality, connection, and creativity into everyone's lives. So that is, in a nutshell, how we take this and make it live in all of our programs. So that's it. I think that's it. I kind of breezed through that because you can always come and find us online or learn more. Oh, I do want to say one other thing. We have a celebration. Svetlana had mentioned we've had the mural program, and I had as well, for 5 years and 25 murals. It's kind of a big milestone for us. We're having a celebration in Evanston at the Hyatt House later in the month. Would love for any of you to attend. It's it's a fundraiser, but it's like a $25 entry. However, also we have a raffle, which is you'd never see this kind of raffle before. Again, it's art by 3 of our exceptional muralists, and the raffle tickets are like $10 or 3 for $25. So if you're interested in potentially procuring some beautiful street art on your wall at home, I've got a couple of cards, and I can give out more information about that later. Just a little plug for that. Okay.
Thank you so much. I want to mention that where I met Lea was a walking tour of the Rogers Park mile of murals, and I hope you do it again next fall or next late summer. It's just, I still like to have someone guide me, right? Yes, I agree that anyone can sort of look at art and have thoughts about art, but what you do is you facilitate discussion and you guide the discussion. You bring our eye towards things that maybe otherwise. So I highly recommend go on the website, look at what tours there are, guided tours, walking tours, and other programming, which, you know, I feel like I'm a shill for the art encounter. All right. So now we are going to have our interlude. Okay, so the musical interlude will be followed by a Q&A. And while the music is playing and you're thinking of questions, we invite you to contribute to the Ethical Humanist Society. You can make those contributions on our website. A link is being posted in the YouTube chat. In person, you can scan a QR code. I'm seeing QR codes behind you. There's also a basket if you want to contribute in the old-fashioned way. It is through our generosity that we show how meaningful the Sunday morning programs are. We suggest a donation of $5. And of course, any contribution that you're comfortable with is greatly appreciated. And we just so much appreciate all of you who sustain the society with their donations of time and money. And now to the intermission. Okay, I think I can start again. All right, now it is time for Q&A. So we have folks in the audience. Great to see you all. Please feel free to ask your question at this microphone. Excuse me, and we'll start with that. And then those of you who are in YouTube land, by the way, I want to thank everyone who is participating virtually for participating in the earlier interactive session. And I was trying to find an opportunity to interject some of your comments. We had such an active live audience that there almost wasn't any opportunity, but I hope you got something out of it. Next time, just, you know, be here in person if you can. All right, so yes, please type in your questions. They will be shared with me via phone, and I will ask Lea. And yeah, let's get going. Lea, if you would come back here.
Sure.
thank you for presenting. Could you please let us know a little bit about the process for selecting kind of the subject of the murals that you paint? Like how maybe the artists are selected, how the community kind of contributes to the, you know, what'll be painted and such?
Absolutely. Yes, the mural projects, first of all, people always just see them suddenly getting painted. They don't realize it's taken usually at least a year or more to get from the point where the idea comes to be and then we actually get painting. So themes and artists, well, let's talk about themes first. There has to be an example of what the project is, because every project is customized. So there are some that are a little straightforward, more straightforward. The Family Focus mural. So Family Focus is a community center in the 5th Ward of Evanston that provides no-cost, free after-school and summer programs to youth in the neighborhood. They wanted to create a mural that expressed the values of the children that participate in that program. So, and it was going to be a mural that was going to be painted, designed, painted, all with children. So that's going to be a really different kind of artist than, for example, a business district that may call us and say, so there's a couple business districts in Evanston, downtown Evanston, the Main Dempster Mile. The Main Dempster Mile has, they made a decision when they were having their last strategic plan that public art was one of the things that they wanted to fund. So they had put money aside and said, and called us, because we're the only really mural group in town right now, and said, can we hire you to do a mural? So they want to do something on a metro wall. That's going to be a really different kind of project. We're just bringing a professional artist to paint a wall that's going to improve a business district than a mural that's going to engage 8 to 13-year-olds. So that's one. Dustin and I, because not only we've been muralists, but we managed that project in Chicago, we know a lot of people already. So we're able to make direct recommendations. Sometimes the recommendations will be singular, like this would be a very good person for this project, and then they'll go through an interview, so it's like kind of just a one shot. Sometimes it would be, I have a few ideas, and so we'll present a couple of ideas, etc. Sometimes it's a call for artists. But for example, the Family Focus, I know there's a few artists that are just exceptional at working with children and being able to derive their ideas and create a design that's also going to want to be lived with forever. You know, it's a real tricky thing. So for that one, I think we made a direct suggestion. For the project at the Main Dempster Mile, where they said we have a budget and we want to have a muralist come, we would sit down with whatever committee they have. It's always important when you're doing a mural or any kind of public project to figure out very early on who needs to make decisions and make sure they're always in the room, right? So that you don't get far into a project and then realize like, oh wait, but this guy needs to know about it, and you go back and they didn't like the artist from the very beginning, etc. So they have a placemaking committee, and they said, well, so we sat down with them, we sort of gleaned from them after a conversation, what kind of art? Do you want something abstract? Are you looking for something representational? Do you want it to have social justice messaging? Do you want it to just be decorative? Like, what sort of things? So they kind of came up with an idea of like, we're sort of thinking it's going to be something like this. So then we would bring maybe 6 artists. And with that project, they wanted to have community input. So they had an evening event where people could come and actually vote on which artists they thought that they should bring in, and use those votes to then make that final selection. So and that's just 2, right? Themes then would be generated from, again, the lead core committee or whoever is partnering with us. Something is fairly straightforward. The mural with the, and I'm sorry I don't have a good image of it, but you can go online and see the birds that are on decline from climate change. The bird group gave the artist, I think 7 different birds to choose from, and he sort of chose 3. But that was like a pretty straightforward one. One that's a little less straightforward is the downtown Evanston mural that we did. We did 2 where the group said, we want something that's going to embrace the energy of downtown Evanston. So that could be the food, That could be the activity, that could be the music, entertainment. We trust the artists and we want them to kind of, take it from there and sort of bring their own thing. So then the artists that we chose for that had very different interpretations, but I'm taking a very long time to answer this question. But a lot of people have a lot of questions about this kind of thing. So that is, a couple of examples of how it's derived. But I do want to say that it's very rare that we would go into a project and say, we want to see this, we want to do that. We could. I find it more satisfying to have that be a collaborative project with the community. So, does that answer?
It does, thank you.
Okay.
More questions?
Yes, more mural questions.
Of course. I told you, Svetlana.
Yes, you
I did. I said people always have questions about the mural program.
So one is, I guess, the maintenance of a mural.
Yes.
How long is it expected to last, and will it be repainted or completely redone? The other involves a news story this week about a restaurant owner in Pilsen who had a mural on the side of his restaurant, but the city deemed it not a mural but an advertisement.
Right.
And he was in litigation, and I think had closed the restaurant because of that.
Huh.
And just wondered what the role of government is in, I guess, approving a design maybe,
Right.
or financially supporting it.
Good, great questions. I'm not familiar with that Pilsen story, but I am familiar with the sign mural debate that I've actually experienced it in Evanston. So, but first of all, yeah, maintenance is very important, and some walls are better than others, basically. And we have had some murals that we've painted on our own, 15 years ago that look like they were painted yesterday, and some that were painted 2 years ago that have, declined more than I would have liked. And a lot of that is wall choice, and it's a little unfortunate in Evanston that some of the most real estate that we have for walls are these underpasses, these transit underpasses, that some just really aren't great. They're not great walls. We have had some murals that, again, like I said, have done a little less well than we want. So maintenance is in our plan, and that's one of the things that we're actually fundraising for this year, is to make sure we can continue to do maintenance on the walls that have decayed from the cracks and bleeding of salt through the walls. So moving forward, also choosing walls that aren't going to have so many problems. We do also have to do maintenance every once in a while when a wall gets tagged. So that does happen. We try to call the artist who originally painted it, or if not, have them help us identify someone that can repaint it before the city comes and just puts like a brown block over it. So yeah, it's important to us to see that they last. I think murals around here, it's a tough climate, but they should last around 10 years. Our program hasn't been around long enough to see painting over and repainting, but we'll see if that is something in terms of a brand new mural. Your other question about the signs, yeah, Evanston is also careful about making sure that any mural that you're going to bring forward is not an advertisement for a specific company. So we do have to show the government bodies, depending on the project, the different departments, the design. The Evanston Arts Council always approves, and then in the past, if it was something that was in relationship to a new development, there was a design and planning review. There's a little bit, that's sort of changing a little bit, but we do need to get city approval. And, I think an organization can express their values as long as they don't have a big logo. That's one of the things I'm curious about this Pilsen piece. What was it that changed it? Did it have a tagline or a logo?
It was a restaurant, and they had a hot dog on the side of it.
Oh, really?
But that was just one part of the mural.
That's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough, because there's, one of the greatest Chicago muralists, Jeff Zimmerman, that's his signature is painting these gorgeous Chicago hot dogs. So I can see why that would go into litigation. Yeah. I'll tell you a story later about another one in Evanston. I'm not going to make a big production of it here, but yeah. So there have been some that have been a little questionable, and yeah, thank you for asking that.
So I have two questions. One is, how does one become a muralist, and why do you think you're done being one?
Okay, the first answer is, well, I always say, how do you become anything? Just start doing it. Just do it. I mean, there's some, if you want to go out and have your first mural be like a big wall, CTA wall, that's going to be challenging. But if you want to be a muralist, this is what I did. I just started offering myself to paint murals, interior, right? Children's bedrooms, my own living room. I was working at that time when I started doing murals at running after-school programs in a few Chicago public schools over the years, and sometimes the environments there just need uplift, right? Especially like cafeteria. There's too many cafeterias with just blank walls. So I would offer to the school that I would paint a mural in their cafeteria. So you do something once, you don't expect to get paid for it. You start to build a portfolio. You learn what you like. Do I want to do interior, exterior? Our first exterior mural was actually on the Mile of Murals. We had developed a reputation for working with students in schools, doing murals with youth, which is a kind of a niche market, right? Some muralists just want to go out and do their thing. They don't really want to also figure out how to teach a child to paint a mural, their mural, and then kind of clean it up. You know, it's a challenging process. So we had been doing that, and the Mile of Murals wanted to hire artists that could paint a block-long mural with the 80 youth from the Howard Area Community Center through their summer camp. So we were brought on to do that, to paint this mural with engaging their students. So that was our first exterior mural. So moving from interior to exterior. So you just kind of, you know, you create opportunities for yourself, and then opportunities begin to find you. Why am I done? There's a lot of labor to painting murals, for one. It is, sometimes a lot of the inspiration actually takes place in the studio. It depends on how you work, you know, so then when you come outside, you're scaling up your design, depending on how you work. Again, some artists leave a lot of room for spontaneity and discovery while they're on the wall. Others are really just kind of fabricating a design that's already been created in the studio. So it's hard work. It's very long hours. I'm now the executive director of Art Encounter, so there's compromises with my time. But I painted murals for 12 years. I say I'll never know again, because I also said I was never going to take an acting class again after stopping acting in 25. Now I'm taking acting classes again. You know, like, you never know what life's going to do for you. My husband also wanted to return to the studio because we got so busy with mural art. It's very different than working in the studio and just kind of making art for yourself. So we're on pause for that.
Any other questions? We have time, and our YouTube folks are quiet. Okay, all right then. Thank you. We
All right.
will close out the program. Thank you again, Lea.
Thank you.
Okay, it is now time for announcements. I will read announcements that will be projected behind me. If anyone has if anyone has announcements that are not society related, please post them on the community listserv. Yeah, we still have such a thing. All right, there we go, great. Our EHS members community dinners are back this fall. This is a great opportunity to get together with fellow members and enjoy a good meal together. We have dinners scheduled for October 22nd, 29th, and November 5th. Check the bulletin for the sign-up link or contact Carrie Ost if you have questions. EHS Acts, Advancing Community Together, is a challenge in which Members' hours spent volunteering in the broader community activate a generous matching monetary donation to the Ethical Humanist Society by an anonymous donor. EHS members are already volunteering in many ways. While you're at it, bring another member or two, or even more, along. Then log your volunteer hours to generate the financial donations to the EHS. For more information on logging your hours, contact Catherine Ross at Ethical Action Chair at ethicalhuman.org, and Catherine is right there if you want to talk more with her about this amazing opportunity. I already have ideas. All right, moving right along. Our film discussion group meets each month for a lively discussion on two interesting, popular, and or enlightening movies currently available on common streaming services. On Monday, October 17th, we'll discuss Indochine and The Lives of Others, both available on Amazon Prime Video. Contact our office for more info and the Zoom link. And, next Sunday, October 16th, we are bringing back our fall festival here in our parking lot. May the weather hold. We'll have carnival games and prizes, fun activities, raffle baskets, a selfie booth, and a pumpkin carving contest. We invite you to bring a snack or dish to share for a potluck lunch. Check your bulletin for the link to a sign-up sheet to let us know what you'd like to bring. Come early to help set up, or stay late to help us clean up. I wonder if that'll count as volunteer hours. I don't know.
It's the broader community.
It's the broader community. Okay, very good. No, never mind.
You're always welcome to volunteer for EHS.
All right, lots of announcements today. This is good. On Sunday, October 23rd, Thea DeLay, I'm not sure how to pronounce, but anyway, will present Look for the Kindness. It's all around us. We live in stressful times. Just glance at the day's news headlines. Without realizing it, our nervous systems may be stuck in one of the stress responses: fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. This affects our brain's ability to see the world and other people more clearly. When we train ourselves to look for kindness, we will see it all around us. This simple mindset shift, brings more joy and connection to our lives and an optimism that humanists need if we want to affect change. Join us live if you can. It'll be more fun. Agreed. For more details on upcoming Sunday morning programs and other activities, see our website at ethicalhumanistsociety.org. Connect with us on Facebook and Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for videos of past speakers and future streaming programs. And with that, I wish you a wonderful rest of the long weekend. Let's gather outside. This weather's really nice. We might have some snacks around, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for coming.